We interrupt your normal broadcasting to take you live out of Terraton, Jefferson County, where a tanker has exploded. This cash store was just robbed moments ago at gunpoint. They arrested 2 men. They collected over 50 guns. This is all that is left after a huge tanker explosion. You see that scrap metal on the left there? It's supposed to look like that tanker on the right, but after 35,000 gallons of fuel have incinerated the place, there isn't much left.
Whoa!
Oh my God!
Well, you can feel the heat.
Chaos best describes what happened last night. A tanker that was in the process of unloading its fuel ignited at Ike's Tesoro near Mud Lake. No one was hurt, but the driver was just behind the trailer when the first explosion happened.
Something went wrong while he was unloading, and some vapors from the tanker got into the engine of the truck. He just said everything blew up and he got away.
The driver didn't have much to say.
About half scared. Well, like the boss said, we're not supposed to comment on nothing.
The first explosion caught many off guard.
We were sitting in the diner getting ready to eat, and somebody came in and said one of the tankers had blown up.
I was stunned because I was just about to stop there and eat, and I'm so glad I didn't.
The explosions that followed lit up the sky.
Talked to people that seen it clear over into Manan.
Flames reached 100 feet high. At 5:30 p.m. Thursday night, every emergency response unit in the area, many volunteer firefighters, were called to the scene. It took fire crews nearly 2 hours to extinguish the flames, which kept reigniting.
The Environmental Protection Agency has confirmed the presence of hazardous chemicals on a Madison County property. The EPA is currently investigating the site on a federal warrant. Before we find Eyewitness News reporter Stephen Pope there live. And Stephen, what will happen in this case now?
They say that the work has been slow because, as you can see behind me here, the property is covered in weeds, has over 30 cars, and an array of containers that have chemicals in them. The EPA has found chemicals on the ground in rusting containers and in several of the vehicles on the property. So far, the EPA has discovered that 7 of the 22 containers they have tested contain hazardous waste.
The owner claims that these are products that he's interested in keeping. However, I find that this is not the proper way to store this material.
The EPA is currently collecting some of these items and doing some tests. Now you can see that they are wearing some masks on, and even from this distance you can smell some chemicals.
It's not hazardous.
Why do you think these guys are walking on with masks? And see that guy right there? Why do you think that they're taking such safety precautions?
Well, because they have procedure that everything that they see is hazardous. I can go over there and take some of this and put it on me like I'm on a war dance, a Native American, and it would have no effect upon my body.
Last week, the Madison County Sheriff's Office served a warrant to Max Spaddock because of the 32 cars strewn around the property. In executing the warrant, deputies found the chemicals. They called the Department of Environmental Quality, which called the EPA. For nearly a week now, Max Spaddock has not been allowed to stay on his property, while the Sheriff's Office has labeled it a crime scene.
Yes, it is a crime scene. They're committing a crime against me.
Many of them are in very poor condition and rusted, and it could easily be leaking, and some of them have.
That is nothing but a curing compound for cement.
Max Spaddock has since been removing these cars from the property so that the EPA has room to do their work. The EPA defends that it was a good thing that they were called out, and they will continue to do testing for hazardous material, Todd. It took 2 days of mowing the weeds and sorting containers into piles, but the EPA did get a firm count on how many containers there were on this property, 2,629. Initial tests labeled many of the containers as hazardous waste. A husband murders his wife's boyfriend at this Walmart parking lot after learning of an affair. Keith Mathias was a math teacher at Idaho Falls High School.
Dispatch received a call from Jennifer Mathias stating that her husband had just killed someone in the parking lot.
Around 7 p.m., Jennifer was having dinner with her husband. She told him about an ongoing affair with Jack Purcell. But after she left the restaurant, her husband followed her. She called her boyfriend for help and parked at Walmart. Within minutes, her boyfriend arrived and had a heated argument with her husband. But then, her husband got out of his car and shot her boyfriend multiple times in the head with a revolving handgun. The husband then got back in his car, circled the truck, got back out, and fired one last bullet into Jack's skull. Matthias then drove away but was followed by eyewitnesses who gave police his location.
He refused to stop. Officers performed the pit maneuver.
Once stopped by Hawthorne Elementary, Matthias didn't take long to make his final decision.
Car stops. Keith gets out of the vehicle with the handgun down to his side. One officer fires a taser, which has no effect. Keith is pacing around, puts the gun to his head, and fires. And that's all within about a 20-second or less.
Why did officers choose to use a taser gun?
Basically, there's no threat toward the officers until he points the gun. If he had moved the weapon toward the officers, then they most likely would have fired at that point.
Did Jennifer do the right thing in parking at the Walmart?
You know, we do tell people and victims if they're afraid or they fear that someone is following them, or, you know, in a case like this, I think she did. Probably the only other thing she could do is maybe contact or come to the police department.
Matthias does not have a previous criminal record in Idaho. This is the second murder in Idaho Falls this year. The first was a stabbing back in June. For Channel 3 Eyewitness News, I'm Stephen Pope. It began Tuesday at 5:30 a.m. The Austin Millers were asleep in their bed when they heard a sound.
All I heard is
Jackie woke up and saw her cat Renesmee panicking. Jackie thinks a male cat had wandered by and her cat was protecting her kittens. So she went to grab her cat to prevent her from bolting out a hole in the screen door. That's when her cat jumped at her.
I was being mauled, literally for the kill. She had got a hold of either my nose first, my face first, my arms first. I was literally screaming, "Blaine, get her off, she's attacking me, get her off!" And he jumped up out of the middle of sleep. He took his CPAP machine, just jerked it off, threw it on the floor, and he was able to literally pry her off of me.
The damage done to Jackie Ostermiller has many baffled. How could a cat do this much damage? But Dr. Tu says it's possible for cats to inflict massive damage. Giant fangs give deep puncture wounds, and all four claws work together in a raking motion.
Suddenly they will turn rage, and the claws and the fangs come out, and the eyes dilate, and they go into a fearful rage. And that's because cats have an easily provoked rage center, and the nervous system reacts in a fight or flight mode.
Confusion. I woke up hearing my wife scream, and I didn't know what was going on until I looked over there, and I seen her viciously attacking.
Blaine did get the cat off, but not before 35 bite marks and 15 bruises later. Then, when Jackie was washing the blood off her face, the cat came back.
Washed the blood off of her face and off part of her hands. Then she actually attacked her leg a second time.
The Ostermillers both saw an unusual stare right before that second attack.
She came at me with the deadliest eyes.
I noticed that she was looking at my wife with a weird look.
But even after this whole ordeal, the Ostermiller family hasn't turned their back on cats. They even plan on getting a new kitten soon. But they do have a word of caution.
I want people to know how dangerous cats can be. They can turn on you in a dime. Believe it or not, cats.
Reporting for CNN, Stephen Pope, Rexburg, Idaho.